well, for fans of the band, there's some well-known songs in this EP that were heard for the first time. Number one, "Love Will Tear Us Apart," and it's quite a special version that because it features Ian Curtis joining Bernard Sumner on guitar.
Oh.
I read about this, and apparently he wasn't happy and didn't really want to do it. But they taught him how to play a D chord, and he just strummed a D chord away through the song.
Hey, everybody out there. Welcome back to another episode of the Audiophiles. It's Andy, it's John, and we are here to discuss some music. And John, you are dishing out the tunes today, at least on this episode. What do you have in store for me and the rest of the class?
Well, I don't know what it's like for you on the other side of the pond, but this time of year, it's wet, grey, miserable, and we all need a bit of cheering up. And so I've picked a track which I think will lift your spirits from a band which are well known to bring the fun into any situation, and that band is Joy Division.
Yeah,
Something in the title.
yeah. You want to take my joy and divide it. That's what you're up to.
Yeah. Into nothing. Um,
Fair.
yeah, I mean, so the track is Sound of Music.
Okay.
No device available on this one though. And it is a Peel session, so it was a track done for Mr. John Peel's radio show.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And that's like an early version of like KXP, right? With KEXP, where they just have him come in and sort of play in studio and record everything there.
Yeah, I've not made any notes on this, but I will talk a bit about Peel sessions because
yeah, we've done a few in the past, but I just wanted to make sure that was how it all played out, these Peel sessions. Okay, cool. All right. Well, let me run off and give this a listen, and I will come back, I'm sure, in buoyant spirit, because of, Joy Division, and I'll let you know what I think. I like how it's steady driving drums, and then you get the bass that joins in, and it's got a little overdrive in it, and already I'm weak in the knees, obviously, right? But no, the bass leads you to believe it's going to just continue this steady plodding like motif that the drums have kind of like, hinted at. But no, it hits these little swingy bits every now and again, and then continues the plodding motif. And I really, really like that. That little swinging bit caught my attention. And now it sounds like we're going to get some interesting guitar stuff. I think I just heard the first note of that. So yeah, let's move forward and see what we got here. But I'm already liking the rhythms on this tune. A sucker for that waka chicka wah kind of guitar sound, and they are doing a fabulous job here. Yeah, this is fun. It's you can feel that they're building something here.
See my true reflection, cut off my own connections. I can see it getting harder. So sad is the sensation, reverse the situation. I can see it getting better.
really liking that kind of like upward bend of the guitar sound on that. This little interesting bit of guitar they've added to what I guess is the end of that verse.
I'll walk you through the heartbreak, show you all the outtakes. I can't see it getting higher. Systematically degraded, emotionally a scapegoat. I can't see it getting higher.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so this bit, if I'm not mistaken, is a new addition to the song here. I don't remember it after the last verse, and the like that. There's that like upward guitar, like lilt to the bend, but then yeah, I think it went back into the next verse. Now they're adding this like three note da da da. Let's see this. Let me hear this again. This is interesting. It's also like we're about 2/3 of the way through this, and I've yet to hear a chorus. So this sounds like one of those songs, where it's just moves in a just a forward motion through verses and these little musical motifs between them. That it appears, as I just mentioned, that they're adding to after each one. I think. Bass.
Perverse and unrealistic, try to make it all stick. I can see it getting harder. Hollow now and burned out, all I need to break out. I can see it getting higher. Love, life, don't you feel it higher, 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 love, higher. Don't you feel higher, 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 higher,
So much good guitar work happening in here. Like I'm loving that scratchy guitar that is pretty consistent throughout all of it, but you get these chiming guitar chord strikes that kind of resonate for a bit as well, and they're just continuing to build on the sound. Rather than give you a whole new part of the song like a chorus or some ridiculous over the top bridge or whatever. They're just continuing to build on this musical motif that they've been running with through pretty much the whole song, but they're showing you all the different ways they can package it and repackage it and accent it. And it's good. It's really, really good the way they're doing this. I'm going to take it back a little bit and we're just going to ride this thing out. course you got to end on the bass. Ah, yeah, no, that was great. That was great. Sometimes Ian Curtis's like talking or spoken word delivery doesn't land with me. I thought it was actually good in this. It actually sounded interesting, and the way he like hits that upward inflection at the end of each line was interesting and kind of I suppose I don't know what came first, the chicken or the egg here. But probably his vocals came second. But that could like the music does that at the end. Sometimes there's that upward lilt that I talked about. And he kind of like does that with his at the end of each line there in the verses. Yeah, no, I really enjoyed this one. Um yeah, yeah, I don't understand what it's about the sound of music unless that's what's taking you higher. I guess John can fill in the blanks for me, but this yeah, no, this was a treat. Good tune. All right, let's get back to John.
So you return with a spring in your step and a smile on your face. Did the lads from Manchester cheer you up?
Oh, did they ever? And every time they never let me down. They always just leave me down.
Foot on your
So
neck, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, they met every expectation, I must say. That it starts off with this really steady, intent drum beat, and again, this is like a theme of late. I think you're really just pandering to me at this point. But we get some like really great bass filling out the lower end with this line that kind of shifts from plotting at times to match that sort of drum beat that's been laid down, but it also swings every now and
A
again.
little bit of melody,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's fun. And I like that. I like how he can shift like so seamlessly from two very disparate sounds and make it all like one, harmonious bass line. So it's really great. Um, there's these lovely guitar accents that sort of come whining in and they build up a bit and then they begin to join that rhythmic pattern of the drums that seems to be sucking, at least at times, all other instruments into its orbit or under its hypnosis. It's sort of they just fall in line with that rhythmic pattern. And it's just got just the right kind of like amount of pitch to this guitar tone as well, which I really, really love. Then Ian Curtis, is that right? Yes. Joins in with his patented almost spoken word voice delivery. And he says something to the effect of I can't see it getting better. And another guitar or a different guitar or that guitar with a different sound enters the fray with this fun single note motif. And each progression of that ends in this funny, like upward bend, this upward lilt of the string. And I just thought that was kind of interesting. And then we get back into that like sort of choppy guitar pattern, which I mean, I think we're both suckers for, and it's kind of fun to hear a whack chicka whack kind of injected into a Joy Division song because I usually associate that with like an upbeat feel, but they're utilizing it in their classic Joy Division way of still somehow making it sound morose or melancholic, which is kind of you kind of smile when you see that. I'm still sticking to brand, you know what I mean? And it's at this point here in the second verse I begin to realize how much the drums are pulling me in. It's at this point in the song where I realize this gravitational pull that they have. They're nothing like mind bending or mind melting in their their rapidity or like how all over the place they are. It's just how kind of like to borrow a term, I just kind of hypnotic. They just kind of pull you in a bit, and I really really like that. There's just an infectious progression.
It's almost sorry, it's almost tribal in a way. You get
it
that
is.
kind of feeling.
It
Yeah.
is. And at times I even thought to myself, is this like war march or tribal or some
Mm.
little bit of both? Because
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
definitely that feel to it. And it would appear that after the second verse and that bit with the guitar where it has that upward lilt on the string bend, they introduced this almost menacing sounding 3-note pattern on the guitar that ends on the lower note. And I thought that was interesting. It's like this next progression. They took you up into an extent after the first verse, and then they took you to that extent after the second, and then built on it. And it's like sort of at this point that I'm noticing there's no true chorus to this song. It's just like verses with sort of musical patterns and motifs dividing them and growing a bit in between each. And I thought that was kind of cool and interesting outside of the box way to manufacture a song. And it was kind of interesting to not hear that classic hooky chorus injected 3 times throughout the song or whatever, you know what I mean? And then there's around the 3-minute mark, the music changes a little bit in what I believe is now the third verse, and we hear these like welcome higher registered bass notes that accent Curtis's near shouted love and life. And then the drums do this great roll, and it's repeated. And as it continues to develop, the guitar does some great work picking throughout it, while another set of chords sort of chime and resonate and kind of breathe a little bit. So the guitars during this last 20 odd seconds or whatever it is of the song, I really loved with how they were layering and doing different things. I loved the bass again, straying from rhythm to melody and muddying the waters and the lines between those two designations. And yeah, just really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was an interesting song. I have to say, oh yeah, and then obviously the song wraps up with, of course, the bass kind of taking us out, and why not end on a low note? So I typically am adverse, or at least I find polarizing, and I either fall on one side or the other, and it's no like meh when it comes to spoken word kind of. But there was just enough like attitude and sort of like how the guitar would have that upward lilt and bend at the end of its phrase. So did each of these kind of lines or like stanzas that Curtis would go through. He would sort of emphasize the very end of it. So clever how he does that, and the guitar does that at 2 different junctures of the song as if to call back to one another or allude to one another. But also it was just enough personality that it didn't feel so goddamn, like it was just like the end of days apocalyptic sound that he could sometimes have. Almost weird serial killer vibes to his tone sometimes. But this I thought was really cool and interesting.
Excellent. Yeah, you raised some interesting points, which I'll cover. Just to say, first off, I chose this track because it's kind of a minor Joy Division track, but with the Peel session, you get this chance to hear them almost live. And
Oh,
I think
John, I'm sorry, real quick. No residue of being live or anything like that, man. This sounded like straight up recorded in the studio, put to disc and played for me. That's how clean this was, if you will.
Yeah. So the whole precept of the Peel sessions was that they'd invite a band to come and do 2 or 4 tracks for John Peel's show, and usually sometimes he would be there and there's other people, and they would supervise the said band in whatever way they needed. Quite often it would be a small unknown indie band or alternative band, and it probably for a lot of them would have been their first time ever in a studio. That's the sort of breaks he's given to them.
Jesus.
And it's amazing. And so some would approach it in a way of a proper recording and lay down tracks. Quite a few of them would actually just play live in the studio, as it were, and that would be the track for the show. And it was such an essential part of the development of the music, the alternative music scene in the UK, that Peel sessions were then released by bands and were big sellers, in their own right. And again, for certain bands, that would have been their first time ever being gone out on vinyl. So it's quite an amazing thing that they would do for these little known bands, who then got a following mostly through the Peel radio show. And you'd have perennial bands that would come back. The Fall and The Wedding Present being 2 that spring to mind, that came back many, many, many times. And there's a lovely box set of all the Fall Peel sessions, and I don't know how it's close to 100 songs they've done for him. And it's a lot. So yeah, it's a really special thing. And the reason why, and I will touch on this later, is that you get a different sound here because you don't have Martin Hannett at the wheel, who produced their 2 albums. So yeah, and I'll get into that. So we've gone on about Joy Division before. We did a previous reaction, and I said a bit about the band, so I won't go on about them too much. I'll put a link in the description so you can go back to the previous reaction and see all the good stuff that we talked about there for anyone who doesn't know anything about Joy Division. And if you're hearing them for the first time, you lucky swines, or perhaps I don't know, but they're one of my favorite bands. So just to recap personnel: Ian Curtis, vocals. I will just say about his voice. He has like two different voices, and you think previous reaction we heard like his sort of, I call it, younger voice. And the studio version of this song is got that voice. This is his more darker voice, and it's definitely it is a singing voice. He doesn't speak like that. But it has that brooding, yeah, I guess I'm only sort of 6 months away from killing myself sort of voice,
Yeah,
which
yeah. And
um,
it may I've never heard the man speak, so you're probably right. But there's no, like, it's not rich with melody or texture or anything like that. It's just gruff and coarse, and it's almost plotting a lot like the drums are, right? So it's interesting stuff.
Bernard Sumner, guitar, Peter Hook, bass, and Stephen Morris, drums. And I will touch on this later, but there was a comment in underneath this video that someone with an unfounded authority said that Barney and Hooky swapped instruments for this track. I have not found no evidence to prove that. It could be the case. They did do it before, but maybe they did, maybe they didn't. So yeah, as I say, this is a Peel session. They did two Peel sessions. This one was off their second EP, called the Peel Sessions, and it was released in 1987 by Strange Fruit, and it features the recordings that were made on the 10th of December 1979. It was recorded at Maida Vale Studio, BBC Studios in Maida Vale in London, and was broadcast on the 26th of November 1979. Sorry, recorded 26th of November, broadcast 10th of December. There you go. None of the songs on this session had been released by the band prior to the broadcast. There's 4 brand new songs as far as
Wow.
concerned. The EP spent 17 weeks in the UK indie charts, peaking at number 3. And, well, for fans of the band, there's some well-known songs in this EP that were heard for the first time. Number 1, Love Will Tear Us Apart. And it's quite a special version, that, because it features Ian Curtis joining Bernard Sumner on guitar. I read about this, and apparently he wasn't happy and didn't really want to do it, but they taught him how to play a D chord, and he just strummed a D chord away through the song. So bless him. 24 hours, Conley, and then Sound of Music. So the studio version of this song appeared on the album Still, that album there, which was released after Ian Curtis's death. And the studio version of Sound of Music was recorded in January 1980. So a couple of months after they'd done this Peel session. And it was recorded at Pennine Sound Studios in Oldham. And it was during sessions for them recording Love Will Tear Us Apart as a single that they recorded the studio version of this song. And the studio version on Still has that classic Martin Hannett's industrial soundscape. So you have these withdrawn metallic drums, otherworldly synths are coming in over, and you have a very subdued, higher register vocal performance from Curtis, and the whole song is slightly faster in tempo as well, just a touch. And so it comes across as an oddity and an interesting song, I think, on Still. I think this Peel session, though, it sounds superb. It's a real, interesting song. I'll go through the lyrics and then a little bit more. So, as you'd expect, sunny casual lyrics. Here we go. See my true reflection, cut off my own connections. I can see it getting harder. So sad is this sensation. Reverse the situation. I can't see it getting better. Anyway, I'll walk you through the heartbreak, show you all the outtakes. I can't see it getting higher. Systematically degraded, emotionally a scapegoat. I can't see it getting higher. Perverse and unrealistic, try to make it all stick. I can see it getting harder. Hollow now, I'm burnt out. Oh, I need to break out. I can see it getting higher. Love, life, don't you feel higher, 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 higher? Love, life, don't you feel higher, 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 higher? And then it's basically higher, 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 higher. Love of life makes you feel higher, 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 higher. That's it. It's quite interesting that, one of the last lines is love of life makes you feel higher. I mean, that's super ironic.
Yeah.
It's obviously someone in a dark place, and it has been for more than I don't know. I must have read it about 3 dozen times in sort of various websites about this song, that a lot of people consider this to be one of his musical suicide notes. Is like, yeah, I'm getting to the end of my tether here.
What?
So
Why the name?
I've no idea.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's evocative. It makes me want to think about how that correlates to the mood, and what you just alluded to. The song it could be about. It's like the sound of music.
Yeah, I mean, music is emotion, isn't it? And I don't know why it's going higher and higher and higher in terms of. I guess we'll never know. It's just super interesting though, and it is dramatic in the way it's presented.
Mhm.
You do get this almost like this heaviness to the intent of this song, not the sound of the song, but it's fairly heavy in terms of Joy Division. But yeah, so there's a comment on this video which kind of summed up the way I feel. This is from um, Ravenous Colonel Hart. We salute you, Colonel Hart. His words actually just sum up what I thought about this. Is I wish there were more of their songs performed like this in Peel sessions, live and heavy, but really clean and crisp. Shadow Play in particular would have been great to hear like that. Same with Atrocity Exhibition and New Dawn Fades. While the album versions are great, Hammett changed so much that it's nice to have unedited performances as well. But the live versions, glorious as some of them are usually really fuzzy, messy, etc. And it's true. So the second half of this Still album is the last ever live performance, and it's really nice to hear it. It's not the best recording, and it's not the cleanest. And I said in the previous reaction, they were a different beast when they played live as to their studio. You've really got this energy and this sense of attack, which you don't necessarily get on the albums, much as I love them. And the Peel sessions is lovely halfway house with almost a live sound, but the cleanness of a studio. That's why I love listening to their stuff from Peel sessions. Just to finish on a funny note, while they're recording, U2 were in the studio. I think it was recording to Love Will Tear Us Apart. U2 were in the studio as well to see Martin Hannett about producing a single 11 o'clock TikTok. So that kind of puts it in perspective of what time frame this is.
Yeah.
Bono said of the encounter, talking to Ian Curtis is, or was, a strange experience because he's very warm. He talked, it was like two people inside him. He talked very light and he talked very well mannered and very polite. But when he got behind the microphone, he really surged forth. There was another energy. It seemed like he was just two people. And, Love Will Tear Us Apart. It was like when that record was released, it was like as if there were the personalities separate and they were torn apart.
Mm.
Interesting insight from Bono, but there you go. So I just thought the actual thought of U2 being in the same studio as Joy Division and Martin Hannett producing their stuff, just such a strange image. But anyway, so
But
yeah,
I love anecdotes like that though, where there's these
yeah,
two
it's so cool.
these paths
Yeah.
intersect, where you're like, whoa, that's really weird that these two entities or bands or artists would, rock up and cross paths with one another, and the stories that come
Yeah.
in after.
It's like the Einstein Marilyn Monroe thing as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So I shall wrap things up. Thanks for listening to this, Andy.
Thanks for offering it.
An interesting little snippet out of Joy Division's wardrobe of back catalogs. Folks out there, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed it as well. There's an easy way to let us know if you did, and that is to hit the like button. So please do. Drop some comments as well. Your thoughts on this, Joy Division, Peel Sessions. What a wonderful array of talent and fantastic stuff they are. I think I will be mining some more Peel Sessions from other artists to put on this channel, because I think they're a really good way of getting to know certain bands, and sometimes a slightly different sound that you would expect. So yeah, let us know what you think. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. We would love to have you on board, and really appreciate anyone who helps support the channel. Growing numbers and all that. The safety in numbers when they come to get you and your family. You just say, "Oh, I'll subscribe to the Audiophiles." Jog on.
Be on the right side of history.
You'll be safe. You'll be safe. That being said, thanks again so much for watching, and we'll see all of you on the next episode of the Audiophiles.
See you later, guys.